Hello, once again, I welcome you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to be looking at a tool called Portainer. Portainer has been around for quite a while, but not many people have, paid attention to it or, use it as it were. It is not well, popularized you know, like every other tool in DevOps. So what I've found container to be very powerful, very useful, and I'm still surprised that people are not, looking at it in that way. So what is Portainer? So Portainer, it's as defined on the screen, it is a container management tool. It is designed to manage containerized applications. It's also good for container orchestration. It is lightweight. It is user friendly because of its powerful user interface, and it saves you the hassle of having to work with command line. For those of you who have been working with CLI, you agree with me that it is seems to be easier or more comfortable when you work with GUI or graphical user interface than when you work with CLI. So Portainer provide you with the capability of managing and interacting with your container or containerized application using the GUI. And I also added that it simplified container orchestration because it allows you to scale and manage containers within within a concentrated user or a unified user interface. What are the key features of Portainer? One, I talk of its visual management because it has a powerful UI. You are able to manage your containers. You are able to view the volume, view the logs, connect networks, manage network, remove and add networks on the user interface without using the command line. Even though Portainer is also integrated with a command line tool, well, that is just by the way if you choose to do that. Also, it has a multi-environment support. That is, it works across all environment, either on-prem or in the cloud. And it also works across major cloud providers. It also provides you with the capability to introduce access control for security purpose. And so with Portainer, you can set RBAC on your infrastructure, and you can manage and define a fine-grained access to users on the platform. Also, it adopts the GitOps approach. The GitOps approach is a process where you have your infrastructure as a code being controlled centrally by a Git repository. I believe you understand that. And it's such that whenever you define your infrastructure as a code, then that code become the single source of truth, such that whatever changes you make on the repository will be reflective in your infrastructure and vice versa. So we also have the edge device management. Like I said, it is ideal for industrial IoT and remote deployment with minimal overhead. So this is just a high-level overview of Portainer. So we are going to be looking at what container is And this video is going to be a kind of a series, so just not to make the video too long. So the first thing we are going to look at how to set up Portainer. Then the next one will go on how to use it to to manage Docker images or Docker containers. And after that, we'll go ahead to look into how you can use it for Kubernetes and similar orchestration. So now, for us to use Portainer, what do we need? So for us to use Portainer, what are the requirements for Portainer? Okay, this is Portainer. Don't mind my handwriting. What are the requirements? One, you will need to have your Linux. For example, if you want to insert it on Linux, you need to have your Linux instance. Okay. In this case, we are going to be setting up an EC2 instance on AWS, and we are going to open appropriate ports on the instance. And then on that instance, you need to have Docker installed. Okay. Docker must be installed on that because Portainer 2 on its own is a container that you are going to run on an instance. So you need a Docker to run Portainer. So you have a Linux machine, you have Docker installed on it, and then we'll be fine. Before we go ahead with that, now let me quickly let you know we have two flavors of Portainer. We have the Portainer CE, which is the community edition. Okay, which is the community edition. We have the BE. We have Portainer BE, which is the business edition. Okay, and as you will expect, the community edition is completely open source and it's free because it allows for community contribution. While the business version has a free aspect of it and has the enterprise one that is subscription. So for the business version, you can still use it for free if you limit your configuration to 3 nodes. If you limit it to what? 3 nodes. And what is 3 nodes? That is, if you install the business version on 3 machines, okay, you should install it on 3, not more than 3 machines. Then you can continue to use your business edition for free. But anything more than 3 nodes, you will be required to to pay for it. And when I say 3 nodes, it seems as 3 hosts. That is, you can install this on 3 different versions. Meanwhile, for the community edition, there's no limit to that. And for the business edition has more capabilities, such as the RBAC and some other configuration that you can use. So let us jump onto the hands-on and let us see how you can get started with Portainer by setting up Portainer. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to set up an EC2 machine on AWS. And here I have an EC2 machine. You can see I call it Portainer server, and it's running. It is an Ubuntu server, and I think I took a T2 medium, just for it to to have to be very fast, and this is the IP address. So what we are going to do now first is to SSH into this. Go to SSH into this server. So in that case, I'm going to take the IP address of the machine. I will click on this. I'll take the public IP address, and I'm going to go onto my terminal. So this is my WS terminal. We are going to SSH into the EC2 machine. And so I'm going to have SSH -I, then the home, the path to my key, that is where my SSH key is, dot SSH, and the name of my key pair is my dot key pair. Let me quickly show you here if I'm not sure if I'm able to see it. Okay, so that is the key pair that I selected when I was creating my EC2 machine. I believe you understand how to create an EC2 machine. So that is the key pair I used. So then, and I'm going to go into Ubuntu, which is the user, Ubuntu, sorry, at, then the IP address. I've copied the IP address and this is it. And then I'm going to click enter and I'm going to type yes. And then I'm connected to the machine. So I'm going to clear the screen. And then after that, whenever you spin up a new virtual machine, the best practice is for you to first run an update on the machine so as to make all the dependencies and all the capabilities available for you to use. So I'm going to go ahead and update it by only the command sudo apt update, and that will update my machine. And the next thing is I told you that we needed a Docker to be able to we need Docker to be installed on the machine so that we can run our Portainer container. So the next thing we're going to do now is to install Docker. So I'm just going to type Docker, and it's going to tell me that there's no Docker, but it's going to give me the command to install this. So I'm going to install this sudo apt install. I'm going to copy, paste, and I'm going to do -y so that it's not going to prompt me. So this is going to install Docker. So whenever you install Docker, the Docker is installed. Of course, remember that we use sudo to install it. So the Docker is going to install with the root user. And in that case, the current user, which is Ubuntu, will not be able to use Docker command. And this is what I'm saying. If I do Docker ps, which is a command that lists the running containers, you can see it poses an error. This is because at this point, it is only the root user that is able to run Docker command. So how do we, you can see now if I go ahead and I said sudo Docker ps, you can see that it works because I used sudo, which granted the root access. But we cannot continue to use sudo in it. And so how do we do that? So I'm going to clear the screen. In that to do that, we need to add Ubuntu user, Ubuntu, which is this one here, which is the current user. We need to add it to the Docker group so that Ubuntu will be able to run Docker commands. And how do we do that? We're going to use the command sudo user mode -a capital G, then the group is Docker, and the user is Ubuntu. We can use Ubuntu, or instead we can just use $user, which means the current user. Okay, and we click enter. So whenever you make this type of changes, you are supposed to sign out and sign in back for you to be able to continue to use that changes, for you to make that changes effective. But instead of logging in and logging out back into your terminal, you can just run the command new group, then Docker. This command will serve the same purpose as signing out and signing in. So I'm going to click enter. And now if I do Docker ps without sudo, you can see now it works. So now that we have our Ubuntu machine and we have Docker installed, the next thing we are going to do now is to install Portainer Business Edition. So we'll go ahead and install Portainer Business Edition. So in order to do this, we are going to head over to Portainer documentation, and we are going to follow the documentation. So I'm going to put it down, and this is my Portainer documentation. You can see it. It's taken from docs.portainer.io. And so I'm going to go onto the left-hand pane, and I'm going to look for installation. You can see it on the left pane. It says install Portainer BE. You also have the community edition there, but I want to install the business edition. Now, from here, I'm going to go straight down, and you can look at it, set up new BE. I'm going to click on that, and we have different options to set up one. We have sending it on Docker standalone, which is the one we want to use now. You can also use the Docker Swarm, which is a kind of an orchestrator. You can use it on the Podman or on the Kubernetes. We are still going to talk about that. So for now, I want to install on Docker standalone. So I'm going to click on it. And what am I installing? I'm installing it on a Linux machine. So I'm going to click on this one, which says install Portainer BE with Docker on Linux. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to scroll down. So the first command here is just two commands. And the first one is we need to create a data storage where Portainer needs to connect to. And this is to ensure persistency, so that even though Portainer is shut down, then the data will remain. And so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go onto my terminal, and I'm going to run it. And so you can see this data has been created. Portainer data has been created. So I'm going to go back and then copy this. I'm going to copy this command, which will run. I can see it's a Docker command. Let me copy it, and then we can look at it. So I'm going to paste it here. Sorry. I'm going to go back, copy, come back to my terminal and paste it. So this is the command, and you can see it. It is Docker run in the detached form, that is in the daemon in the background, into a port 8000, that is the host and the container port, and also extend it to another port 9443. Okay, that means you can either use this, you can access it through this port or this port, as the case may be. And the name of the container you want to run is Portainer. And we said that it will start always, meaning that when you shut down your terminal, you start it again, the Portainer will automatically start. That is what this one means. And then this is the socket daemon. So I'm going to go ahead now and click enter to run this. And so they're pulling the container image. So it has successfully pulled the image, and it has run the container. So this is the ID of the container. So let me clear my screen now. If I clear my screen and I do Docker PS, you can see now we have a Portainer container running. It started 19 seconds ago. The container was created 19 seconds ago, and it is up and running 14 seconds away, and it's available on all of these ports. So we are going to go ahead and access Portainer on this port. But before you do that, you have to ensure that any of these ports that you intend to use must be opened on your EC2 machine. That means on your Ubuntu EC2 machine, you must allow traffic to any of those ports. That is port 9443, port 9000, and all that. So I'm going to use port 9000 instead to access it. And so what next do? I need to get the IP address of the IP address of my Ubuntu machine. I can either go back to my Ubuntu machine to pick it, or I can just ask from here, how can I get the IP address of the server? You can just type, we call it an outside server. So I can just type call if config.me. It's going to give us the IP address. You can see it from here. You can see the IP address at the back here. Let me see if I can zoom a little bit in. Okay, you can see. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to run the command again, so you can see the IP address here. So this is the IP address of the Ubuntu machine. And of course, if you like, you can go over. If you want to go into your machine, you can check it from there. You can come back here and you can see the machine is 391.184.2.2 219. So now I want to access my Portainer on port 9000. So I'm going to come here, and it has to be on https colon / then I'm going to put my IP address, then on port 9000, and I'll click enter, and then okay, if it doesn't work, then I will try it on the other port. What other port do I have there? Port 9443. Okay, I'm going to have it on port 9443. Okay, that seems to work. So just because we did need set up the your TLS, so you can continue, click on advanced and proceed on this, and then we are able to what? See our Portainer instance. So for Portainer, before I continue the setup, Portainer contain a Portainer instance. Portainer instance contain two agents. Contain two items. One, we have the Portainer server, and we have the Portainer agent. So Portainer agent will be the one that will manage the container orchestration and management, while Portainer server will be the one that will display the GUI or the UI for us to access the containers. So I just want to put that out there. So now the next thing we have to do now is, if you like, you can change this name admin, but I would like to keep it. And the next thing is to what? Put in the password. Now I'll put in the password. The password has to be 112 character. So this is the password. It doesn't look like it doesn't match, so I'm going to type it again. Okay, let me type it. Okay, it matches now. Now, if I click on create user, it's going to create the user admin. But because this is the business edition, it's going to ask you for your business license. So I click on create, and so it's asking me for the license. Now, if it is the community edition, then it's not going to ask you for the license because it is free. But for the business edition, then you can just go to this. For you to get the license for a business edition, you can go to this website, which is portainer.io. I'm going to zoom out a little bit.